So now what I'm going to do is show you two different types of roofing systems. One is what you have, what your roofing system consists of now, and the other is what it could look like with some improvements. So first off, what we'll do is we'll completely take off your entire system all the way down to the bare decking. Now we want to make sure there's no rot spots, mold, things like that. Obviously, for one, we can't nail into that, but two, that's the last thing you want on your roof. And so we'll take that out and replace it, and we'll show you if that needs to be done. But it is something that's unforeseen, so it's not something that's in my original estimate. It's $125 per occurrence, but that's why I get up in the attic and try to do my due diligence and make sure if there's anything I see off the bat, I can let you know. But so once we know that we have solid nailable surface everywhere, then we go back through with the moisture barrier. So what you have right now is felt paper. Now what that is, it's exactly like what it sounds. Paper, it's construction paper spritzed with asphalt. It's not waterproof, it's water resistant. So that's not something that we use. In fact, what we would do for your system, something that would really go a long way in benefiting your home, is a two-part system. The first one being a synthetic underlayment. Instead of being a paper material, this is like a high-grade tarp. That's going to go all across your entire roofing system, making sure that you don't have something that's water resistant, but instead waterproof. Also, it goes a long way in making sure that it seals up all those gaps. When it's up there, you can't tear it. But not only that, in those high water traffic, those high vulnerable areas, and including all of your flashing. Now you do have that huge section of flashing going up the side of your home, as well as your chimney around there. So what we'll do is we take off all of that flashing. We actually have to pull up that vinyl siding, and then we'll take that old flashing out. Now the reason we do that is because, like this, you can see you have those crinkles, those old holes. What we typically see from roofing systems that have already been redone in the past is contractors will actually take all the material out, but to put new material back in, you have to lift this up, lay down that new synthetic, and then weave the shingles in with this. Now what happens is that doesn't allow the shingles to seal down properly, and then that allows immediately wind-driven debris, rain, stuff like that to get in there, and now you have a vulnerable system right off the bat. So that, again, that's not what we want, that's not what we do. In fact, what we'll do is come back with this ice and water barrier. So it's this watertight rubberized material that seals down to the decking. In fact, it starts to rip the decking off if you try to pull it apart. But what it does is, again, it seals down to all of those gaps, all those construction gaps and along the flashing there where the roof meets the wall, but it makes a waterproof seal. You can squeeze that as tight as you want. It's completely waterproof. So once we do that, then we go back through with new step flashing, and around the chimney, new counter flashing, and then we put the new shingles back and weave those through there. So now, again, you have a big watertight system right off the bat. But not only that, that is something where we'll do in all those flashing areas. But one big thing that could go a long way in improving your home is right there, right above the gutter line, where you had all that stuff just holding up in your gutters. That stuff tends to seep back up into your roofing system. So instead of going back with just synthetic underlayment, this would go a long way in improving the eaves, making sure that it's completely waterproof, so you don't have to worry about any of that water coming in through that soffit like you saw before, or anything like that. So we get that taken care of. Now, again, it's not something that you have up there now, but this is going to go a long way in improving your home, and obviously it's going to be more out of pocket than what the insurance will cover or what you already have up there now. So the next thing is the starter shingle. So then what we'll have, what we see a lot is a 3-tab shingle just flipped upside down. That's not what we do. In fact, we go back with in Owens Corning starter shingle. Now, the reason being is because we always have to have a starter shingle no matter what, because those first two shingles, when they come together, there's always that gap between them So you have to have something back there flashing it, making sure it's protected from getting water down into your synthetic there. But we have to have something that's going to allow for this adhesive down at the bottom to meet this adhesive here. So now we have adhesive on adhesive, sticky on sticky, to where it's going to seal down properly, to where we can make sure we start off the right way on top of your roofing system. Then we put those shingles in that stair-stepping pattern. But as you can see, like I was showing you in that video, you have all those sections all across your roof, the front, the left, the right. It's all coming up to where you can see those in that stair-stepping pattern, those shingles starting to come up. And some of them, like I was showing you in that video, when I lift one, it lifts 3 or 4 more. That means they're not sealed down properly, they're not nailed down properly. And the reason that happens is because just like that starter shingle I was showing you before, there's no sealant for that for that sealant on the shingle to attach to. So all it does is it actually picks up some of those rocks, just like you can see here. Just from sitting in my bag, you can see that adhesive is pulling up these rocks. So now, just like when you drop a sticker on the ground, it stops sticking after a while. It just starts blowing up. And then you get more wind-driven debris, rain, stuff like that up into there, and it's just useless. So instead of doing something like that for your system, a big benefit for you would be to go back with something like this. This is an Owens Corning Duration shingle, which is actually class 3 rated. So it's actually rated for hail, which again, that's why we're out here, because of that hailstorm that happened back on May 8th or June 8th, a couple weeks ago. So on the shingle before, here, I want you to hold my balls. So what I've got here is 1 1/4 ball bearing. So this is what the regular architectural shingle, what you have up there, that's what that's rated for. Now this duration shingle, like I said, it's a class 3 rating, so it takes it to something like this. Now feel how heavy that is. Quite a big difference between the balls there. So again, that is actually something that's hail rated. In fact, many insurance companies like State Farm will recognize that and give you discounts on your premiums. But the biggest thing that it's going to do is protect your home from things like hail, but also wind. I mean, if you see this strip here, you now have a nice clean surface for that next adhesive to seal down onto, and now it ingrains itself into that adhesive to where it's stuck. It's once you put that all the way across your roofing system, you now have hundreds of ratchet straps just holding your shingles down on your roofing system to make sure they're not going anywhere. Plus, they're protected from hail. So again, not something that you have up there. It's a far more bigger advantage to your home to protect you from those things that you have going on. But obviously, it's going to be more out of pocket to make sure that you get what you need. So it's more of like a buy once, cry once type of system. But next, you do have that ridge vent. So we're going to take that off and replace it. But not only are we going to replace that, but what we're going to do to make sure it gets stuck up there properly, unlike what you have going on now where you have that whole strip just kind of ripped off along with that ridge cap that you have up there. Because typically what we see is this 3-tab shingle. It's super cheap to cut those 3-tab shingles, like I was showing you before on that starter, into 3s. And you cut those corners off so you don't see that reveal, but it doesn't allow for enough nailing surface all the way across. But it's not meant to bend over the ridge. It's meant to lay flat across the field. That's not what we want. So we're not going to put those 3 tabs back up. We're going to make sure we go back with the proper ridge cap. But to make sure that what you had happen never happen again, something that I would recommend for your home is something like this. This is a Dura Ridge shingle. Once we put this all the way across the top, it actually gives you 2 inches more reveal, but you can feel the difference in weight. Like, this is far heavier, far more substantial than what you have up there now. But not only that, you can see that it's only strapped down on one side. The reason being is because it can actually customize to your home and then get seated in, strapped down just like a seat belt, protecting it from blowing off and keeping it on your home so that you don't ever have to worry about that ridge cap coming off again, especially being right there up on that hill. in the valley on the hill where you're at now. So we want to make sure, you know, that gets seated on there properly so that you don't have to worry about it. But also what we'll do is we'll come back and we'll use the proper nails. That's another big thing that you have to pay attention to. We use an 1 3/4 nail for the ridge cap with the ridge vent versus just an 1 1/4 and just trying to drive it down, because that's what happens to things like your system where it's just driven through that ridge cap. So we'll make sure to get that seated up there properly. Then we'll go back through with the bullet boots. Once we do a system like this, I mean, the last thing you want is a maintenance item like what you have up there on your pipe jacks. So this is something that's going to give you 50 years on it, as well as the roofing system, to where you don't have to worry about anything. Obviously, these are lots of improvements to your system, so it's going to be more than just what you have up there now. But again, it's going to go a long ways in improving your system, so you don't have to worry about anything. But not only that, with this system, I'm going to make sure that you have a maintenance-free gutter system as well. This is not something that you want to have to worry about, whether you've got stuff clogging up your gutters, that ice getting back up in there, seeping into that soffit and the starting part of your roofing system like you saw. So this, it's almost like a cheese grater without the little fuzzy parts or the little bevels to grate cheese, but this is actually going to make sure nothing gets into your gutter system. It's going to allow stuff to like hit on there and then just blow off or wash off with that wind-driven rain, but it's not going to allow those little helicopter things to get stuck into your gutter guard or into your gutters and start growing those tree gutters is what I call them. But that's not what we want. We want something like this to make sure that you don't have to have anything up there anymore and that you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to maintain it. Just again, buy once, cry once deal. It's going to make sure that you don't have any issues, and that's going to give you the Owens Corning Lifetime Roofing System. That's a platinum preferred, something only Midwest Roofing can offer you, to make sure that it's taken care of the right way. So that's what I have for you. Again, it's a lot more than what you have up there now, but going back with this system, it's going to make sure that you don't ever have to worry about any of those issues again. And if something does happen or something does come up, then you just call me. You say, hey, Joey, I've got this going on, and I'll say, all right, well, we'll get you taken care of.